An estimated 2 billion people worldwide live in areas that lack proper solid waste management systems. Inadequate waste systems present serious risks to human health and the environment. The United States Environmental Protection Agency's Best Practices Guide for Solid Waste Management and accompanying learning modules present best practices for solid waste management in developing countries. This video builds on the Waste Prevention and Minimization section of the Best Practices Guide to provide more detail on the importance of waste prevention. What items are typically targeted for waste minimization, and how engaging with stakeholders can lead to successful reduction solutions. One of the most effective waste management strategies is for cities to reduce the creation of waste in the first place. With less waste, there are lower costs associated with waste collection, transportation, and disposal. Reducing waste also avoids impacts to public health from waste-related pollution. To develop solutions that reduce waste, decision makers should first identify what waste types and issues are most important to the community. For example, consider what types of waste are most commonly generated and may pose challenges for management. Buy-in from the community is critical to developing solutions that are implementable and sustainable. First, let's look at the items typically targeted for waste prevention. Food waste. The majority of food waste comes from inadequate storage, packaging, and transportation from farms to markets or grocery stores. Additionally, produce that doesn't meet consumer preferences in terms of ideal shape, size, or color often do not get harvested from the farm and may be thrown away. This waste results in excess use of fuel, landfill capacity, and labor costs. To reduce food waste, many organizations are working towards redistribution of food items that would otherwise be discarded. Some are even using technology or digital apps to share the food they have available to link farms or food donors to restaurants, grocery stores, and consumers. Packaging material is another item of concern for many cities. There are various strategies that cities can implement to reduce packaging waste. Governments may take a regulatory approach and establish policies that help to change consumer behavior, such as implementing fees for the use of plastic and paper bags to incentivize more durable options, such as fabric. A regulatory approach can be augmented by engaging relevant stakeholders, such as the private sector and households, in efforts to encourage the production and use of products with minimal packaging. Disposable, single-use products are convenient, but their main purpose is to be used once then thrown away. This creates a significant amount of waste, energy, and cost along with it. Decision makers can encourage the purchase of durable, long-lasting goods, ban or restrict single-use items, especially those most likely to end up in the environment, and undertake behavior change campaigns to shift away from dependence on single-use items. Implementing effective policies require transformation at various levels of a waste management system. Some best practices are to discuss strategies with stakeholders to maintain long-term program support, account for development which leads to increased consumption and waste, use economic incentives to guide behavior change, encourage the private sector to produce goods with better packaging and other waste-reducing features, encourage reduction within the household. Small changes can make a large impact. One way to overcome challenges that cities face is to develop solutions collaboratively with stakeholders from all levels of the recycling and waste management sector to facilitate effective implementation and compliance. Stakeholders like local governments, private companies, residential waste generators, non-governmental organizations, among others, can provide information on local social norms and practices, as well as economic and market conditions, and can help to develop outreach and education tools to assist with policy implementation. Many cities have found it helpful to account for economic development projections within an area when planning strategies for waste prevention. This is because economic development typically leads to a change in consumption patterns and a resulting change in the composition of the waste stream, which may necessitate waste prevention strategies that consider different types of waste over time. Economic incentives and disincentives can also be an effective strategy used to encourage residents to reduce the quantity of items thrown away. Deposit refund programs incentivize the return of items to a location to be recycled or reused, for example, returning bottles for a refund. Another approach to encourage less waste is pay-as-you-throw systems. These programs charge residents based on the quantity of waste they produce, which encourages an overall reduction in waste generated. Communities often worry that making residents pay for the waste they throw out will lead to an increase in illegal dumping. Most communities have not found this to be true, especially when they offer residents recycling, composting, and other programs that allow waste to be disposed of legally. Furthermore, some communities offer low-income residents coupons or vouchers to help reduce the financial burden of proper waste disposal. Cities can also require the private sector to take responsibility for the end-of-life disposal of goods they produce through extended producer responsibility, commonly referred to as EPR. EPR programs require producers to fund the end-of-life management of the items they produce. These types of programs can also be used to encourage the private sector to redesign their goods with waste minimization in mind. A large part of prevention and minimization is done at the household level. In many cases, simple changes can make a big impact. For example, switching from single-use to more durable items, or composting food scraps in backyards or community gardens. In Jakarta, Indonesia, an online startup, Keseper, saw a way to turn waste into an opportunity. The e-commerce business allows consumers to purchase fresh and organic produce directly from local farmers through a fully reusable circular delivery system. Harvesting produce on demand and delivering straight to consumers using reusable packaging has prevented about 132 metric tons of food waste per year, eliminated 6 metric tons of single-use plastics since 2016, and farmers see a 40% increase in profit. With these results, the goal is to scale the company to continue to reduce waste throughout Indonesia. Implementing waste prevention and minimization policies and approaches is a key element to reduce the amount/quantity of waste generated and therefore reduce challenges and costs associated with the management of waste. Reducing waste at the source helps prevent the negative environmental and human health impacts associated with waste. Visit Section 8 of EPA's Best Practices Guide for more information. The guide is part of EPA's Solid Waste Management Toolkit. Scan this QR code for more information. Thanks for watching.